Hey guys, welcome to the Real Life Everything podcast. We're your hosts, Ebony Westwood.
And Kristen Noel.
Here on the RLE pod, we dive into the real, relatable, and raw topics as we navigate adulthood and real life our dreams.
Our mission is to support women by encouraging authenticity, self-awareness, and celebrating all our real life wins and sisterhood along the way.
What are you real life in today, Chris?
I'm real lifing everything. Let's get into it.
Hey guys, I'm Ebony Westwood.
And I'm Kristen Noel.
And this is the Real Life Everything podcast.
Hey.
Welcome.
We're back.
We're back. Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a long time. Anyway, we are back this evening. I'm so excited. So let's jump right in. What have you been real lifing?
What have I been real lifing? So I've been real lifing just the celebration of life and big events for loved ones. So this weekend I had my friend's bridal shower. I had
It was
my
so beautiful.
other friend. Yeah, it was gorgeous. I had my other friend's baby shower. The next weekend I have a wedding to go to.
Ooh.
And my grandma's 97th birthday party.
Ooh.
So yes, it's a lot of socializing and it's a lot of just celebrating, and I always want to make sure that I'm reserving the energy to celebrate my people, to show up for my people, to be present.
Yeah.
And that feels good, because I can really get caught up in like the hustle, the bustle, the grind, all of that. But I just like to shut it down on the weekends and go have fun, go celebrate. So that's how I'm real lifing.
That's so true about you.
Yeah.
You do like to shut it down on the weekends. Like when it's Saturday, Sunday, when it's Friday, you be ready to like be outside.
Which can be super hard for us as entrepreneurs, right? Like I feel like we're always on the clock when we're in that stage of trying to build our business up.
Yeah.
But I try to make sure to have those boundaries in place.
Yeah.
What about you? How you real lifing?
Well, what have I been? I feel like it's just been so long since we sat here and connected on the pod. But gosh, no, what's been going on since then? I think honestly, the last time we had we did our recording, it was right after my birthday, back in March, and I was just like still high off of having my family and my friends around and just real life in my dream birthday, which was again so beautiful. But let's see, that was March and we're in April still, but I feel like it's like June at this point. So let's see, I definitely have been very, very just like intentionally resting still, but I think like more so ever now than I have at least, for the month of March, because March I became like a event planner overnight for my birthday pretty much. So once April kicked in, like I was able to just really like sit and like I said, create that intentional space to just rest.
Yes.
But to also, like just get more into my word, because I'm in everything. I'm in my bag, but I'm also in my Bible too. And so, I've just been intentionally resting and just really just trying to make sure that I stay focused on, reaching some of my personal goals. Like that's a really big thing for me this year. It's just how can I real life my personal goals? Because I feel like for the last 5, 10, 15 years, like I feel like I've also done so much even in the last year in 2022, I feel like I did so much that I projected to accomplish in like 5 years from now. I did it last year. And so just knowing that I set aside my business to just really focus on self, it just felt really good after my birthday to just kind of just sit and chill.
Yes.
And like I said, relax and get into that Bible. So I've been like intentional about going back, just kind of like re-listening to some of the word or sermons that Pastor has put out there. Pastor Keith Battle has put out there. Just going back and like listening to the word. Journaling. I've been journaling more in the past week than I have in like the last, God knows, I don't know how long.
I love journaling.
I picked up a book recently,
Yes.
Battlefield of the Mind by Joyce Myers. Yes. And just been like reading through that, and like I said, journaling. And like yourself, I have several amazing events coming up, celebrating family and friends, Mother's Day coming up. So I'm also working towards those events that are coming up, but like not as much right now. I just been resting and chilling. So that's what I've been up to. But one thing we forgot to mention is like the purpose of this podcast. We're here to talk about real, relatable, and raw topics that will reach our corporate baddies and our mompreneurs. But yeah, pretty much our female community. So I just want to go ahead and introduce, our why and why we're here. And we're hoping that tonight's discussion will be relatable to some of you ladies tonight. So, but yeah, that's what I've pretty much been up to. So.
I love it. So, okay, we talked about earlier we were talking about how we watched Law Roach's recent interview, and we were talking about okay, you're a former stylist. I don't know if you consider yourself a stylist still, but when you talked about like wanting to take a break, wanting to take a hiatus and put the business aside, and not necessarily offer styling services, that made me think about Law because you shared the interview with us, and I watched the whole thing, and it was so good. It was so real. Law just kept it funky about like why he's taking a break. We know him for styling some of the most iconic looks, right? And like somebody like that, you think of as they can stay booked and busy for as long as they live. Yeah. But he's taking the time out to be like, I'm tired. I'm so done with this industry. And, it's something that he loved to do. But he decided to take a pause and take a step back. So I want to know if you were able to check out that, and could you relate to him in any way since, as a stylist, you've had big projects, but you made the decision to like put that down for a little bit. So like, how can you relate at all? Like what was going through your mind when you decided to like put down your bread and butter?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, to be transparent, I haven't listened to the full interview yet. Sometimes when news hit the internet, especially on Instagram, I kind of just let the hypeness of it die down. Sometimes, you never know if it's like real or if it's fake news. Did they really mean to put that out there? Right. Did they not, So initially, I did not take charge and like read the interview or go back and like listen to all the interviews that he did with a few magazines and interviewers that are out there. But when I first saw the post go up, it happened immediately after. I can't remember which red carpet event it was, but he had just styled Zendaya. Yes. And it was such a beautiful look on her. And then hours later,
right? Was it like the Emmys or something?
Was it the Emmys? Gosh,
I can't remember either, but it was.
I
know it was something big.
It was definitely it was a big night.
Yeah,
it was a big night. And so when the post went up, I felt like, and it went up on his page first, and I was just like, ooh, maybe something happened at the event, and maybe he in his bag, and like just give it a few days, and we'll see if he keeps it up or if he archives it by the morning. Right. That's exactly the way I took it.
Right, because it seems so sudden.
It was so sudden.
Does he mean that?
It was so sudden. Yeah. It was so sudden. So, yeah, I didn't, like I said, like look into it or whatever. But I did notice that he did do a couple of interviews like immediately after, and the post was still up. And that's when I just kind of told myself like, oh no, this is real. Yeah. So I think at that point I shared it in the chat, and I'm like, wow, this seems to be happening to a lot of successful entrepreneurs, especially in the fashion industries. It feels so sudden, but I'm sure that this was a long time coming for most of them, including myself. You go to sleep, you think about this, you know what I'm saying?
Breathe it.
You live and breathe it. And there are times where you really just want to give up, but you don't, because people know you as this styling expert, that are styling some of the, like you said, the most iconic people, serving some of the most iconic looks. And, when you feel like your name is attached to something so big that people know you as or know you by, you kind of, you go back and forth with yourself. Like, should I give up? Should I not give up? And I don't want to use the word give up, right? Because a lot of times we're not necessarily giving up.
Right.
We're not failing at this thing.
Right.
We're just pivoting.
Exactly.
We're changing. We're evolving. And that's okay.
And it can't be an easy decision when it's something that you love.
When you absolutely love it, like you have to, like you said, when you love it, and then to factor in what people know you as, and then sometimes what people may think of you if you decide to evolve and pivot. Right. Whether it's, your online community, your family, your friends, what
Right.
have you. You're thinking about all those things. But I really applaud him for pivoting. I applaud him for evolving. And immediately, like a week later, if not even a week later, I would say probably like 3 days later, he was walking the runway. So I think that I say all that to say, like, yes, it was super relatable. At first, I did not read into it, look into it. But once I noticed that the post was still up and he was starting to take interviews to talk about this, I wanted to get my hands on an interview and to, put
Right.
eyes and ears on it, but I haven't. But I know you have, and to answer your question, yeah, it's hella relatable. Like, the pivot era is strong, and it's okay to pivot. Some people, if not most, are just scared, and some of the things that they're asking themselves is, well, how do I do it? Before they even ask themselves, how do I do it? They go through, or we go through, and I've been there. We go through, again, that attachment piece. People know me as this. It's my ego that I'm kind of like going back and forth with. No, I'm not going to show up and say this, even though I really want to do it. I'm not, because people know me as this styling expert or this hair expert. And then the other thing we battle with is, what will people say about me?
Exactly. What is people gonna think?
What people gonna think? And the real question is, why do you give a fuck?
Why do we care?
Why do we care?
Exactly. And that's something that I can empathize with.
Yeah.
Because I've made a lot of pivots, but for me, I've never really been that concerned about other people. And this is something that my best friend actually brought to my attention, because she was going through a situation where, like, she was transitioning into a new field. She was joining a new company and kind of being like her own independent business owner. And for her, it was really nerve-wracking to be like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to put this out there. And then when she wanted to pivot again from that, she was nervous about that again.
Yeah.
And she pointed out to me, she's just like, you've pivoted like 5 different times. Like, you've never seemed worried. And for me, I think it just came natural. Like, when I had a new creative idea, or when I was like, I'm tired of doing this, I'm going to do something else now. I just went for it and was just like it was never really a thought to me.
Yeah.
But now I see more and more people talking about having to be more comfortable with their pivot. And I watched my best friend go through hers and just like trying to give her that motivation. Like, girl, like, first of all, people who might feel any type of way, like, do their opinions really matter? When you think about it, like, who are these people?
Yeah.
Are they affecting your business?
Girl, I was about to say, are they paying
your bills?
Are they paying your bills?
So why does it matter what they think?
No, for sure. I think one of the things that you said that just really stood out is that you didn't consult with her as far as like on a paid level, but as her friend, you consulted with her. People are literally paying, and again, I'm one of them. People are paying other experts to figure out, how do I pivot online?
Right.
When I'm also on the other side of it, and I'm also a branding expert. Like, it's crazy because one minute I'm paying somebody to help me, strategize, and how do I show up online now? Because styling is no longer my go-to thing. It's my company. I want to do this. I want to do that. I'm paying someone else for their services to tell me how to pivot. But yet, in the same breath, I'm telling other women, just set up that tripod, put your phone on record, and just record.
Well, to that point, I think every expert also needs an expert. Every strategist needs a strategist. Every coach needs a coach. And it's just like, I think that we can share our gifts with somebody else, but still need help with that same thing.
Need help. That's crazy.
Like, we might still, for me as a marketer and a writer, I would rather hire somebody else to do my writing for me, but I could do it for somebody else.
And as a stylist, I'm always hiring somebody. If I have a shoot, if I have a content day, whatever, I'm always hiring another stylist to style me, even though I'm a stylist. And I think not only is the value in someone else's, an expert opinion, but it's also just relieving some of that stress on us.
Exactly.
So that's also okay.
So that's a lesson outside the lesson.
Yeah.
It's
Like,
it's okay. Even if you are
lesson.
an expert in something, it's okay to get help.
In
that very same thing. But yes, pivoting. Like, why is it that you think people are super concerned, or like from your own experience, I know you wanted to pivot away from just being a stylist and being more so of a lifestyle, you know, like this is my lifestyle, this is what I'm into.
Yeah.
So what do you think was nerve-wracking for you in making that transition?
Yeah. Again, I really think it was just what others would say or think about me, because I was attached to being a stylist in the industry for so long. And that's just surface,
Yeah.
you know. But on a deeper level, I had to do a lot of inner work, you know. I really had to go through, and it wasn't this thing that put me to signing up for a therapist. It was other things in life, right? But as I went through a lot of therapy sessions with my therapist, I realized just through different like worksheets and, you know what I'm saying, homework assignments, I realized that I value people's opinion more than anything. And validation was just so important for me. I had to ask all the time. Well, I felt like I had to ask all the time. Well, how does my hair look?
Yeah.
You know, am I overdressed for this occasion? You know, I'm always seeking somebody else's validation and not digging deep and asking myself, because the answers are within us, you know?
Right.
That's why we have that gut feeling. But if you don't exercise your gut feeling, if you don't trust your gut feeling, you're always prioritizing somebody else's opinion over yours, your God-given gift, like, then unfortunately, you know, that was the case for me. So, yeah, I knew for first thing first, when I first started my business, I first off, I started off as a freelance stylist back in 2013. I knew I wanted to get into the styling industry. Styling industry. I went to school for it, and then I started working retail. I was a what was my visual merchandiser for Forever 21? It was so long ago.
Forever 21.
Yeah,
I worked in the mall too, girl. I worked at Banana Republic.
Oh, really?
Yes.
You know, I love that store today, but back in the day, I was just like,
Really?
This store is just like, it's too cookie cutter for me.
It's the opposite for me. I liked it working there, but I haven't been in there in ages.
Really? Girl, I fucks with Banana Republic now. But so yeah, I was a visual merchandiser for Forever 21, and styling mannequins made me realize, like, I love styling and I love personal styling. Like, I don't just want to do it for the celebs. I want to do it for everyday people.
Right.
You know, because that's what I was styling the mannequins for everyday people who shopped in the mall. And so I did that for about 5 years just as a freelancer. And then I met, you know, just people, networking with people in the industry. Someone just pretty much like spoke life into me actually creating a full business out of this, where I can hire other people. And I was just like, well, I love just making a difference in people's lives. And if doing this through the styling industry, you know, by building a styling business will help me, you know what I'm saying, fulfill my purpose, then sure, let's do it. And so 2015, I remember sitting and I remember just visualizing what Fifth and Westwood would look like. And I could imagine the interns and the stylists that we would work with and the people we were serving in our community. I always knew that this would be a business that I will just more so like invest in, but not actually work in. You get what I'm saying? Like, I never saw myself as an employee. I never saw myself working in the business. I just wanted to build a business. And then just like walk away from that
but not
thing.
necessarily have to manage it on a
Not
day-to-day basis.
necessarily have to manage it.
Yeah.
And so to fast forward, I think a little bit of that, as I got my hands more involved with the business, and obviously being like the only employee of the business, I'm now servicing the people. I'm now having to become the face of this brand. You know, so and just being real with you, like, this is also before I started to really love me as a Black woman, because there were so many Karens in the business world, and the blue collars, you know, with the button ups and the pencil skirts and the high heels. It was so many Karens winning like 5 or 10 years ago. I never saw Black women getting the recognition that a white woman would, to be honest with you, you know? So eventually I started to become this Karen in my business.
Right. You felt like you had to whitewash your identity.
I had to whitewash my identity. I had to just show up and just be that girl, as we would say now, in my business. But to reel it in, like, because I got so washed up in my business, that's who I was. I was the walking Fifth and Westwood.
Yeah, it's like, so I feel like it kind of has a double effect where it's just like, you, on one hand, you have to kind of whitewash your own identity and your personality. You think that's what you have to do in order to be successful.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, it's like you're also just pouring so much of yourself into it that you
Yeah.
kind of lose yourself.
You lose yourself
in it. Yeah.
You lose yourself, but behind,
and that can be exhausting.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, hello. That's why I retired.
That's why we're here at this point.
That's why I'm here. That's why we have the
And
podcast.
that's why so many people that we're starting to see now,
Yeah.
which we mentioned, especially if you're online, I think that a lot of us are seeing more business owners, more people who have like highly established names, and they're just like shutting it down.
Yes.
I don't know about y'all, but I've had a lot of conversations with people who have arrived at this point where they might not even have necessarily had this huge successful business, but they've reached a level of success, and then they burned it all down. They're just like, all right, this was, I built this up. They've been ambitious individuals, highly talented, highly intellectual, and all that stuff, but they ran so fast and then realized, like, I don't want to keep doing this. I don't want to keep going at this pace. I don't want to have to keep bending to, other people or lacking some type of boundary. And they just completely stopped something that was successful.
But it's something that they've just been feeling for so long, and they've just been battling it. And we said this on an episode before, like, it's better for you to make the decision before God forces you to make the decision. Before God says, okay, enough is enough. Like, make the decision, seek the Holy Spirit, seek God, pray about that thing, and just like make the decision before he forces you to sit down.
Yes. And it's okay to slow down.
It is.
And I think for me, like, one of my, if I'm being vulnerable and transparent, one of my insecurities has been not reaching the point of my business where I feel like this is a major milestone. I feel like I've reached small milestones, but nothing that's like, oh, I've arrived, like, this is where I want to be. And I've been doing this for several years. But at the same time, it's like, I appreciate that I've gone slow and been more intentional. Because I feel like if I really would have just went hard, who knows if I would still be doing, maybe I would have been tired of it or built it up in a direction that I didn't even want to go in. So at the same time, it's just like, I might feel on one hand that like, oh, I wish I was further along. But on the other side, it's like, I'm glad that I'm taking my time and being intentional.
No, for sure.
Just trying to be more aware of just like not pouring too much energy into this one idea of success that I might have.
For sure. And again, I applaud you for that. I like so value just how patient you are with your company and with your business because, just coming from the opposite background, like real life and everything, manifesting everything overnight. If I see it, I want it, I got to have it. It's here. And that caused a lot of burnout. And on top of like, just other things, but being a mom, because I am a mom, and so being a new mom and, just trying to live life outside of my business, I just really poured a lot of myself into my business. And like I said, if I seen it, I wanted it, I manifested it, but then it also caused a lot of burnt out. And I'm now in a place in my company, in myself and with my business where I'm just like, oh, because I've been there and I've done it, I'm like, ooh, I'm very cautious about the decisions I make, I'm just really open-minded to a lot of things that I didn't necessarily, like, I guess, value. I value things differently now. It's like, because I've been there and I've done that, there's a lot of lessons in it. So I just really take my time saying yes to a lot of opportunities with the company. I have a team that is so understanding to the hiatus. So when we have meetings, some have even customized their services to where we meet when I, feel like, hey, okay, I want to meet next week, or let's meet bi-weekly rather than weekly, or let's meet once a month instead of every week. And I'm thankful for that because you don't get a lot of people like that in this world these days. But I say all that to say, like, the burnout is real, man. And it's best to just really seek God and ask him, like, what do you want me to do with this company and
Yeah.
how do you want me to do it?
Yeah.
Versus putting all of your, and the word says it like, lean not into your own understanding and always acknowledge him and he will direct your path. A lot of things that I'm happy that we accomplished in the company. At the same time, I feel like a lot of that was done off of my own might, my own power, my own will. And a lot of things I really should have just seek God and said, I know that this is the vision you gave me, but like, God, do we do this now?
Right.
A lot of times it's like, I know this is the vision you gave me, God, so we're gonna go do it now.
You're not really sitting and thinking and processing. It's
No.
just like you have an idea, you're going
and I'm going to do it. And my excuse
But that's
would be
admirable too. I guess it's just knowing when to pause.
Knowing when.
Just pause. Just listen.
Just
just think about it for a second.
Exactly. Now I'm like, I don't want to do nothing without your word. Nothing. Like, I need all the signs to know that this is what you want me to do and this is when you want me to do it.
Yeah. I think it's so important for us to listen. Like, listen, what is God telling us? What is our path really supposed to be? It's not just like have an idea, go for it. But I mean, I just think that it's on us to kind of create a whole new vision or a whole new reality of what life can actually look like when we design it ourselves.
Yeah.
And when we don't necessarily feel like we have to just fall into the same flow that we see everybody else doing,
No, for sure.
or that model that society has laid out. But I think like for us, we're really working to create our own ideal, day to day. What does it look like if we don't have to fill our days with meetings every single freaking day?
Like you're okay. You're still a successful
right.
individual. You're still an amazing person.
What does it look like when we don't respond to every single email within an hour?
Like,
even within 24 hours.
For sure.
Like, they'll be okay.
It's okay. It's okay.
People will be okay.
We talked about this the other day too when we had met up for lunch. We talked about your purpose. When you find your purpose, you also understand that your purpose is a lifelong relationship.
Assignment.
It's a lifelong assignment. You locked in forever with that purpose and with God. And so there's no rush to it. There's no, oh, well, I got to do this in 5 years, or I have to do this in 3 years. I have to do this in my first year. Like, no. If this is your purpose, that thing is forever.
Yep.
So if it takes you 20 years to get there, that's also okay because this is your purpose. It ain't going nowhere.
Right. And we don't have to we shouldn't discount the small steps that we're taking.
No, for sure.
I think that there should be a balance between like we have to have some level of urgency, right? Because we're not here forever. Life is short. But it also doesn't have to happen tomorrow. It doesn't have to happen next year, 2, 3, 5 years from now. We can take our time and make small steps. Yeah. And that actually counts. We should celebrate those small steps. Yeah. Because when we're running too fast, we miss things. Yeah. We miss
all
things.
The time.
We get exhausted. We get burned out. And we're going sometimes in a direction, like we said, that might not even be where we want to be. We look up and we're just here and we're like, ooh, I don't even like this. Baby. I don't like this version of my life. Ooh. Like, so yeah.
I felt that. No, yeah. You look up and you be like, where am I? How am I existing?
Yeah. How
right
have I been
now?
Going on like this?
How? When I felt that burnt out, oh my gosh. And I felt it like 2 or 3 times last year. And just in different scenarios and different situations. But I know last year, just really putting my best foot forward with the company and, real life and a 5-year goal in 1 year.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
The burnout was real. And that's not a good feeling.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a good
And from the outside, it looks like amazing. It's like they're putting out all this content. It's high quality, new collections and new drops and new launches. Yes. And I think when we see that, it's just like we don't always know what's going on behind the scenes. No. We might see that and be like, damn, I wish I was doing that. Yeah. But you also don't know, doing that comparison game.
Yeah, that comparison game. Yeah, and I think that takes us back to just that law, retiring. He's obviously from just the outside looking in, he's had enough.
Yeah.
And you just looking at him, you're like, he's styling some, like you said, the most iconic people, some of the most iconic styles that we will forever remember. But like, you just never really realize that someone is really going through it behind closed doors because of what we see on the front end of things. And so I think the biggest lesson in that is go at your own pace, first and foremost. You know, we were also saying earlier that like 10 years ago, social media wasn't what it is now. You know, there wasn't a lot to compare online other than, oh, I like the way they took the picture of that mountain over there. Maybe I should go do the same thing. Or
girl,
tell
the
my
way
dog,
I would post the sunsets every day.
Like who got the best sunset? Like that was the only thing we were probably like competitive in or comparing. But like now, just social media is just so different. And the scary part is it's not slowing down.
Right. It's not.
It's not slowing down. And I think that if we don't take charge and make the pivots ourselves today, then it's just going to get out of hand in the future. And what it look like, I don't know. But that's scary to even think about. Another 10 years living like this.
I know. The
That's
content's
scary.
not going to stop. It's not going to slow down. Like TikTok doesn't sleep.
No.
These platforms don't sleep, but you still need your sleep.
You still need your
we
sleep.
still need our sleep, and we still need to be aware of the life that we want to live from day to day. I mean, obviously we can't just wake up and hang out at the beach every single day, but how can we add in that balance and you know, take more breaks, take more rest? I'm even seeing more business owners taking what do you call it, like what's another word for a break or a hiatus or something like that, but they are building,
I'm hearing sabbatical.
Yes, a sabbatical. They're taking sabbaticals. Not only are they taking them like every few years, but they're building it into their schedule, their business every single year. Like I'm following this one. Actually, I used to work with this one lady. She's like a wellness consultant. She plans retreats. She writes. She does a lot. And she talks about she gets burned out. So she has started planning 3-month sabbaticals into every year. So that's taking a whole quarter off, you know, every single year. And just think about how much time you can like how that time can make you reset and just get back to doing, you know, prioritizing your family, doing other things that you love. And that's unheard of, you know, for most people. That's unheard of. Like nobody just, unless you're like a teacher or something, nobody just gets 3 months a year off. Right. So it's just being intentional. Like I know I want to do that in my business, whether it's like I take a week off every few weeks or take a month off every couple months, you know?
Yeah. I think a lot of young entrepreneurs probably like deal with, well, am I at a level in my business where I can afford to do that?
That part.
Well, girl, you better figure it out.
I'm not yet, but I'm going to figure it out.
And like you said, it doesn't have to be a full 3 months, but like at least a week.
Yeah.
You know, or every holiday or something, you know, like it's just, the point is that it's so important. And it's not just important, you know, for you, but it's also important for your team.
Yes.
You know, people can value that.
Right. Definitely.
Like, there are systems out there already that make so many other companies successful for a reason. Just copy and paste, people. Like,
the systems part is the important part. People have to be systems oriented. I'm always thinking of like, what systems can I put in my business to make sure that I don't need to be here 24/7, and like I can empower people to do the job. I can hire people, and I don't necessarily need to be a millionaire business owner in order to do that. So always be thinking of systems. Because I know I wanted to take January off this year, but with some pivots, it wasn't possible. But I'm planning to be able to, you know, January is my birthday month. I want to start taking all January off and ease into my new year in February. So I'm figuring out now how I can meet my revenue goals, but also build in those systems so that I'm not just working around the clock, and so that I can, like we said earlier, shut it down and empower my team and be able to step away without everything falling apart.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The point, guys, get a system.
Get the systems and figure out what works for you. You know, figure out your own design, your human design as a person. Like, I recently took one of those little online, it's like a personality test thing, but it's to see your human design.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting. Like, I want to get more into it.
Yeah, I think actually taking tests like that, probably quarterly, maybe
Yes.
that's too much
Yeah,
for
I think
some.
so.
But I think it's important to take those, often, more
Right.
than once, at least in a year, because we're constantly evolving. We're
Right.
constantly growing. We're constantly going through different challenges. And so the more you take those, the more understanding you are of yourself. And the better you are to articulate like who you are in that season of your life or how you're
Yes.
feeling about something, because you're not always the same person,
Yeah.
So
That
I think tests like
self-understanding,
that,
what you said,
yeah,
like, that's important.
it's so, yeah. Yeah, I don't do it yet, but
I
I've done
wanna
it
do it
before,
more.
and I'm like, I
Yeah.
think I should, because I'm just such a deep person. I always want to know my truth. I always want to know like where I stand, where's the alignment, and any and everything that I have going on. And so, with that being said, like once I took it, like one time before last year, I think I took it again. It wasn't. I think I did like an attachment test. Yeah, so I took an attachment test, and I got the results of that, and I was like, I'm curious to know what my results would be 6 months from now,
Yeah, right.
because I'm always wanting to grow and learn and just curious about myself. So, I think taking those tests often, it can help
Yes.
a person for sure.
Exactly. Use that to guide you,
Yeah.
guide your life between prayer,
Yeah.
between taking these tests, taking them regularly, and just studying yourself,
Yeah.
whether that's through journaling or through therapy or through
Yeah.
going on walks, just having conversations, with God and with yourself, understanding who you really are and letting that lead instead of just following, somebody or following your favorite icon or following
That part.
what society said to
No,
do.
that
Like,
part.
because that person is probably not designed the same way that you are.
No, they
So,
not.
right, it's that self-understanding.
We're so unique. Like, we're so unique. He thinks of us that much to make all of us so different and so unique. So,
Yep.
yeah, there's a lot of relatable people out there. There's a lot of things that we go through that, again, comes off very relatable. But at the end of the
Right.
day, like, your story is your story.
Right.
Your testimony is your testimony. Your trial is your trial. So, really take what you've learned, just through. And that's the important part. Like, you have to learn the lesson in your situation. You know what I mean? So first focus on, like, God, what is the lesson in this?
Yeah.
And once you get the lesson, then if you hear something or meet someone who has also been through something very similar to you, then it's okay to, sit and have conversation about it. But at the end of the day, just take bits and pieces and, apply it, but also just keep in mind that God put you through it for a reason.
Right.
And what they went through, yes, we may have
Right.
went through same thing, possibly around the same time in
Yeah.
our lives, may have some of the similar results, but at the end of the day, your story is your story, my story is my
At the
story.
end of the day,
I'm telling
anybody who has
you.
anything negative to think, I promise you, you don't want them part of your journey anyway.
That part.
Like,
And I think that's what we're so afraid of. It's like, well, what if they don't like it? Who cares?
Right. Who
They're not
cares?
for you.
Right.
They're
I
not
think
for
people
you.
will love to see it, and it gives people permission that they can change their
They can
mind too.
change
They
their
can do
minds,
something new
too.
as well.
It's okay to reinvent yourself, guys.
Yeah.
It is okay. Yeah.
Well, I think that's a great ending point for
Yes.
us.
Yes, I'm excited. Yeah, so stay tuned. Next week, we're going to be dropping another episode. We don't know what the topic is, so just stay tuned for it. But again,
We have some things in mind, though.
yeah, we do.
We
We have
to talk about.
we have a lot in mind to talk about. But again, thank you guys so much. This is the Real Life Everything podcast. Again, we talk about real, raw, relatable topics. So we hope that tonight or whatever during your day listening to this podcast that we mentioned something that is relatable, but also something that puts the battery in your back to go out and reinvent your story. Like,
Yes.
reinvent yourself. It's okay. And do it as many times as you want to.
Exactly. Your story is only yours to define. Don't let
Yeah.
anybody else define it. You can control your own
Yeah.
narrative, boo.
Control your narrative and take control of it today. Take
Yep.
control of it today. Do it before God forces you to do it.
Pivot when you need to.
Yes.
If God's telling you to pivot, go ahead
Do
and
it.
make that pivot.
Make it. And I think that's it.
Yes, well, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you tune back in next week.
Yeah.
And we love having you part of the fam. So tell your friends, share this episode as well with
tell
somebody
a friend,
who
tell
it
a
would
friend,
help.
tell a friend.
And we'll see y'all back next week.
Yes. Love y'all. Mean it.
Thank you guys so much for tuning into another episode of the Real Life Everything podcast.
Yes, make sure you use our hashtags on social media, the RLE Pod and Real Life Everything.
And don't forget to follow us on all platforms. We're on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at the RLE Pod.